Hello and welcome to GCLS Virtual Events. My name is Jennifer, and I'm a library assistant in the South Carolina room at the Hughes Main Library. I've been with the library system for 12 years, with the last 3 in my current position. If you haven't visited the South Carolina room yet, please come visit soon. The room houses one of the most extensive historical archives in the state and is open the same hours as the Hughes Main Library. Though an appointment is not required, you can schedule your visit ahead of time. Scheduling your visit in advance helps us to best serve you and make good use of your time. Before we dive in, I do have a couple of things I wanted to mention. First, there will be a link to the class handout posted below this recording. Though this isn't a live event, if you have any questions, please feel free to submit them in the comments section of this recording, or you can email us at scroominfo@greenvillelibrary.org. Additionally, if you're interested in other library events, check out our events calendar and list of virtual classes and activities on our website, or sign up for monthly emails for the latest library news and events. If you've been researching your family history for any length of time, you're probably familiar with obituaries, death certificates, marriage licenses, and other common genealogy records. But as researchers, we're always on the hunt for more information. Today, we're discussing a commonly overlooked but valuable resource, periodicals. Part of what I do in the South Carolina room is that I oversee the periodical collection, and I've used periodicals in my own research, so I'm excited to share some information about them with you today. Periodicals may contain a wealth of information that sometimes can't be found elsewhere, so we will discover how to use periodicals in your family history research. We'll discuss what periodicals are and why you should use them. We'll also identify the types of periodicals and kinds of records and information discoverable in them, search techniques for finding your ancestors, and where to locate these helpful resources. What are periodicals? Periodicals are regularly published publications such as newsletters, magazines, journals, and quarterlies. Publishing schedules vary greatly. Periodicals can be published monthly, annually, quarterly, or any other frequency determined by the publisher. They are published by genealogical and historical societies, individuals, family associations, and genealogy-based companies. Content may come from staff writers, a single contributor. This would be common for an individual publishing a family newsletter, or most commonly from submissions from experts or interested and knowledgeable researchers. It depends on the publisher and their intended scope as to what they'll accept and from whom. Usually, publishers will include submission guidelines either on their websites or within a physical copy of their publication, or both. They instruct potential authors on their scope or topic coverage areas, what style and form to follow, length requirements, and any other information they expect the authors to supply along with their article submissions. The South Carolina Historical Society, for example, encourages scholars of South Carolina history to submit articles for possible publication in the South Carolina Historical Magazine. Articles are reviewed by the editorial board, which is a peer group of leading authorities on South Carolina history. Articles dealing mostly with genealogy or articles that are regional in scope are not accepted. They're looking for 7,500 words or less, and for the author to follow the Chicago Manual of Style. Authors should also include a brief vita with their submission, which is an academic resume or a list of their credentials. In contrast, Family Tree Magazine encourages submissions from experts or interested amateurs who are able to write well about topics in easy-to-understand articles. Family Tree Magazine describes its style as bright, breezy, helpful, and encouraging, and emphasizes that they are not an academic or genealogy research journal. They do want authors to include statements as to why they are qualified to write about the intended topic and to submit writing samples if they have never written for Family Tree magazine before. There's more to each organization's submission guidelines, but I just wanted to compare the two. One seems more formal and the other more relaxed. Doesn't mean that one is better than the other, it's just that each organization has a different scope and their guidelines reflect that. These guidelines were taken directly from their respective websites if you'd like to view them. So why should you use periodicals in your research? We'll go into more detail about the types of information found in periodicals a bit later, but I do want to touch on a few now. One reason to use periodicals is that they contain indexes, abstracts, extracts, and transcripts of local and regional records. Even if you don't find a specific mention of your ancestor, you can still use periodicals to obtain information about the community in which they lived and local events that occurred during their lives. Historical Society periodicals are great for this. Another reason is that many periodicals contain how-to guides and research methodology. You could find an article that gives you a step-by-step guide to navigating a certain record group like probate estate records, or how a researcher used a deed to prove a relationship when they couldn't find any other record normally used for proving relationships like a will or birth certificate. You can take case studies of methodology and apply them to your own research to see if they work for you. Additionally, periodicals are a steady source of new information if the publisher is actively publishing them, so always check back. And last but not least, you might just find something you never knew existed. For example, I've been researching my mother's line through her father, the Barbers of Rowan County, North Carolina, which is where I was born and raised. Rowan County has a genealogical society, and they publish a journal, so I used them in my research and discovered a couple of transcribed letters addressed to my fourth great-grandfather, Thomas Barber, from his sister, Catherine Barber Swan, dated 1853. She talked of her health and how she wanted Thomas and his sons to come out to Missouri to see her, mentioned that their brother Samuel's daughter had recently died, and how their crops were doing. She also included information in her letters about their father Jonathan's estate, as Thomas was his executor. Within the journal, the author of this particular submission stated that these were transcribed from documents within a family file at the Rowan Public Library in Salisbury, North Carolina. So I was able to view these in person. I've included a portion of the letter here. The letters were photocopies and not originals, but it was a really neat discovery and something I never even thought to search for. Let's move on to the types of periodicals and the kinds of information or records found in each type. One type is general interest. These periodicals provide basic instruction on how to research family history and instruction on record groups. So you'll likely find articles on how to get started with genealogy and articles about specific record groups you'll come across in your research. You may also find book reviews and genealogy website and software reviews. Compilations of the best genealogy websites are often published. Articles about photo and heirloom preservation are often included, as well as tips on how to share your family history with others. Think social media, blogging, or writing your own family history book. Articles about keeping your research organized are common in these periodicals as well. I mentioned it earlier, but a great example of a general interest periodical is Family Tree magazine. I've included a scan from the May-June 2022 issue. It's an entire multi-page cheat sheet for land records and includes steps on how to find an ancestor's deed. Pictured here is the second page of the cheat sheet on how to decipher an old deed. Additionally, this cheat sheet includes a glossary of land record terminology, a timeline of U.S. expansion and settlement, an information chart on the key types of land records, including descriptions, and where to find each type. And finally, how to cite land records and a list of additional resources dealing with land records. One more thing to note about Family Tree Magazine is that in addition to the library holdings in the South Carolina room available for in-library use, we have back to 2015, the Simpsonville and Travelers Rest branches maintain the current year's issues, and they are available for checkout. Next, we have locality-based periodicals. These are often published by genealogical societies and contain information on the people who inhabited the area. These are filled with local and regional records that have been indexed, abstracted, extracted, and transcribed. I mentioned those words earlier, and if you've been researching your family history, you're probably already familiar with those terms, but I am including definitions of each in the class handout if you need a refresher. Locality-based periodicals often include biographies of individuals and family histories. Maybe there's one of your ancestor or your family line. You may also find genealogy reference book reviews. Members of genealogical societies can often submit queries, just requests for information, in the organization's periodical in hopes that another member might have some information to share. The journal that I mentioned earlier, the Journal of the Genealogical Society of Rowan County, is an example of this type of periodical. Another example is one that is a current subscription of the South Carolina room, the South Carolina Magazine of Ancestral Research, and I've included a scan of the winter 2022 issue's table of contents. This particular periodical pertains to the entire state of South Carolina, and so is not limited to one county or region of the state. And as you can see from the table of contents, there's a good range of records from across the state, including a biography of Absalom Thompson of Greenville County, Chester District equity petitions, and marriage and death notices from the Lutheran Visitor newspaper. Next, we have ethnic periodicals. This type is similar in content to the locality-based type. However, the focus is typically on a particular ethnic group. So you may find genealogical records, compiled genealogies, and scholarly articles. These periodicals may also include how-to guides and methodology for researchers of specific ethnic groups. An example of this type is the Journal of Cherokee Studies. This journal focuses on the Cherokee and is a publication of the Museum of the Cherokee Indian. Pictured here is an issue of the periodical from the 11th volume that features transcribed oral histories of some Cherokee people of the Snowbird community in North Carolina. Another type of periodical is special interest. These are published by organizations with a shared interest in a particular aspect of genealogy or history, like lineage societies, historic preservation groups, or online genealogy research, for example. The content of a special interest periodical depends on the special interest, so you'll encounter various kinds of information. Lineage societies often have compiled genealogies, biographies of individuals, and information about the cultural history of their focus. For example, the Mayflower Society publishes the Mayflower Quarterly, and pictured here is the September 2015 issue, and their focus is on the passengers who traveled on the Mayflower in 1620 and their lineal descendants. Lastly, we have surname periodicals. These focus on a particular surname. These can be anything from small family newsletters to publications by official family associations. You may find information about DNA testing projects, information about family reunions, and family and official genealogy records. FamilySearch.org has a family association directory that I've included in the class handout, but do note that it's not an exhaustive list. Searching for Scruggs is the publication of the Scruggs Family Association. This is a scan from their September 2022 issue and features an old family Bible from the early 1800s that contains several early vital records for the Scruggs family. I think periodicals are often overlooked in family history research because of the time and effort involved in searching periodicals for ancestors. Thankfully, periodical indexes are here to help. Some indexes only include a listing of article titles within a publication, and some are every name indexes. Many publications provide annual or cumulative indexes. Some organizations now have digital indexes searchable by keyword. These are often available on the organization's website, or some may choose to sell their indexes on flash drives. Keep in mind that indexing takes some time, whether it's compiled and then published in book form or available online, so recent periodical issues may not be indexed right away. Search techniques depend on what kind of index you have. If you have an every name index, that's pretty straightforward. Simply look for your ancestor's name. If it's not an every name index, then you'll need to determine your search options and proceed from there, usually searching by subject, location, or surname. There are other comprehensive periodical indexes, but one of the most well-known is the Periodical Source Index, more commonly referred to as PERSI. PERSI is the largest subject index to genealogical and historical periodicals, and is produced by staff members of the Allen County Public Library Genealogy Center in Indiana. Researchers can find this index online and can search by surname, location, article title, keyword, and research technique articles. It's important to understand that PERSI is not an every name index, which means that every name appearing in every article has not been indexed. In just a moment, we'll be exploring PERSI, but I do want to let you all know that the Allen County Public Library has a video on using PERSI if you'd like to take a look. I provided a link to the video in the class handout. We're going to take some time and explore some different indexes and go over some search techniques. Keep in mind that each periodical may have more than one kind of index or might be available in different formats, and if it does, be sure to consult each one if you can. Our first index example is the American Genealogist. An annual every name index is published for each volume and is included in the last issue of the volume. Here's the first page of the Volume 90 index. These every name indexes are great. You simply look for your ancestor's name. On the American Genealogist website, you can also find a PDF link to a compiled listing of article titles and authors for volumes 9 through 85, which is 1932 through 2011. For recent and current issues, they have also provided PDF links for the content page of each issue. Our next index is for the Carolina Herald and Newsletter, which is the publication of the South Carolina Genealogical Society. The Society sells a cumulative index covering 1971 through 2015 on a flash drive. The library purchased this flash drive for the South Carolina room, so if you're interested in searching this index, just ask a staff member at the desk. You simply pop the flash drive in your computer, and you can keyword search within each issue. Let's search in 2014 volume 42 number 1, which is this one. And you search in the search bar right up here. And you want to try different keywords and names, whatever pertains to your search. We'll try deaths and see what comes up. Oh, and right away we've got deaths in Charleston. So your results will come up over here, and you can click through each one to see if it's relevant to your search. And I would try different spellings and keywords. Let's try petitions or petition. So I've got a few more results here for petition, and you can just hit return or enter or click through to look at each instance. Let's move on to PERSI. I mentioned earlier that the Allen County Library System posted a video about using PERSI, but I do want to take some time to share some search techniques for the index, since it's such a wonderful resource and provides access to millions of periodical articles. A big thank you to the folks at the Allen County Library System for this. I watched their video and they emphasize that PERSI is ever evolving, continually being updated, so just be aware that things will change and grow. New features may be added to continue to improve PERSI. This is a wonderful resource though, and if you haven't tried PERSI out, I would highly recommend doing that. To access Percy, you can do several things. You can Google Percy or Periodical Source Index, access it from the Allen County Library's website, or you can go directly to the Percy page by typing genealogycenter.info/Percy into your address bar. I've provided a link to the index on the class handout. If this is something you think you'll use a lot, you may want to consider bookmarking the page or creating a desktop shortcut for it. We have several search options here: surname, location, not only US periodicals, but periodicals throughout the world. You can also search by research techniques, say if you wanted to learn more about a certain record group. And you can also do a keyword search for article titles. And as I've said before, though Percy isn't an every name index, if a person's name is included in an article title, it's been indexed. So I suggest keying in your ancestor's name in the article title search. Let's give it a try. So we'll click on article title keyword. I had a little trouble searching just for one of my ancestors' names, like it just wouldn't load right. So if you are running into that, you might want to try putting your ancestor's name into quotation marks. I tried it without the quotation marks the first time I searched, and the page never really loaded because it was pulling articles that had Thomas or Barber in the title. So it was just kind of too much to load. So try your ancestor's name in quotation marks. Okay, so this is 14 entries, and this shows 10 right now. You can change that if you want to. So you can click that little drop down menu and you can change it. We don't have 100 results or 25, but you can change it to where it'll show 25 or 50 or 100 at a time, whatever your preference is. So you can filter up here. So say we wanted to just search NC, Thomas Barber slandered 1906 NC. I'm guessing that's probably a newspaper article, and I highly recommend doing multiple searches. So try various spellings and abbreviations. So Thomas is very common. Let's go back to the article title keyword search. Instead of Thomas, like typing out his full name, let's just do TOS, THOS, short for Thomas. And let's see what comes up. So this was that letter that I talked about a little bit earlier and showed you. And I would not have found that had I not searched various spellings. And same with the sister's name here. It's not Catherine spelled out. This one still might have come up under Catherine because Cath is the first four letters. But this one I would not have gotten just by searching Thomas. Try various spellings and abbreviations, and don't get too discouraged if you try your ancestor's name and you get no results or nothing relevant to your ancestor. It only means that that name doesn't appear in the article titles. Let's go back to the home page here, and we will try searching by surnames. And let's try pretty common Greenville area surname. Let's see how many results we have. So 187, that would be a lot to look through. So we can, again, you can come here to the search bar and you can type in SC. Say we want to focus mainly on the family, the Darby family of SC. So there's several that come up here. You can try South Carolina. That really narrowed it down. Maybe you want to see if there's a journal or a diary that's been transcribed. Go back here, let's type in SC. And if I were researching the Darby family of South Carolina, might want to take note of some of these that are coming up. So you have a couple options here. You can of course write these down, like handwrite them down, or you can print the whole page. You can select the ones you want to make a note of, and you can print this list. You can also save it as a PDF. So you can also copy and paste into a Google document. All right, let's go back Let's search by location. So we'll do United States. We are in South Carolina, in Greenville, so that's what we're going to search. This comes up with categories here and the number of articles within each category. So let's look at vital records. So this first one is Births from Henry Gibson Daybook, 1858 to 1867. And this one grabbed my attention because it's early birth records. South Carolina didn't officially begin recording births until 1915, so it's really great when you find a record like this for pre-1915 years. This particular article is in the Greenville Chapter Newsletter, South Carolina Genealogical Society, and that is one that we do have in the South Carolina room. So I scanned a part of this article so you could see what it looks like, and this is from the Volume 30, Number 2, February 2004 issue. And I scanned the first batch of names for the 1858 year. So Henry Gibson was a merchant and blacksmith in Greenville County during the 19th century and kept a daybook of his business dealings, and he also apparently kept some birth records for a few years as well. This includes both black and white children and lists the child's name and the parents or the enslaver. Was transcribed by a researcher and submitted for publication to this periodical. Back to the Percy homepage. One more search I want to show you. You can search by research techniques. So if you want to learn more about a certain record group, let's choose tax records. Click search. Again, the categories and the number of articles within each one. Let's choose tax records general. So this has some really good information. So abbreviations and terms, if you're not familiar, all about tax list. So this would be, just as I said, a great resource if you wanted to learn more about certain record groups. Once you find some articles of interest in an index, how do you obtain them? Periodicals can be found in a number of places. I would check with your local public library or the library system near where your ancestors lived. As I've mentioned before, the SC Room has an extensive periodical collection, and though our focus is on Greenville and South Carolina, we also hold some periodicals for several other states, including, but not limited to, North Carolina, Georgia, and Virginia. You can search for periodical titles in our online catalog. Almost all the periodicals I've mentioned in this recording can be found in the South Carolina room. In addition to searching individual library catalogs, WorldCat.org is a great resource as it connects you to library holdings worldwide. Additionally, anything you find on Percy can be ordered through the Allen County Library System. Family Search has many periodicals within their collection, and some may have been digitized. You can do a title search for a particular periodical or a keyword search to look up the publisher's name. Family Search also provides a lookup service, so you may be able to access an article that way. Internet Archive and Google Books may be a good option for older periodicals. And with both of these platforms, you have the ability to do a keyword search of the document's full text. Another option is to go directly to the organization that publishes the periodical. Paid members of an organization typically receive access to any publications. Some organizations may provide copies of articles to inquirers for a small fee. Thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you've been inspired to incorporate periodicals into your family history research. You can now identify the kinds of records and information found in the different types of periodicals and are now equipped with the search techniques for finding your ancestors in those records. So come check out the South Carolina Room's extensive periodical collection available for in-library use. Visit any time the Hughes Main Library is open. Also, check out our free genealogy databases, including Ancestry Library Edition, Fold3, Newspapers.com, Family Search, and many others. Keep in mind that many of these databases are accessible from home with your library card. If you would like additional, more one-on-one assistance with getting started with genealogy or local history research, consider our Book a Librarian program. A staff member would be happy to get you started with researching your family tree and to share the resources and databases the South Carolina Room has to offer. If you can't make it to the South Carolina Room in person, use our record request form to order vital records, newspaper articles, military land, and probate records. The Book a Librarian form and the record request form are both available on our website. Share your history with us by participating in our Digitize Greenville initiative. We're looking for Greenville-related items such as photographs, letters, and other materials to add to our digital collection. You loan the items to us to digitize and get them back. For more information about how it works, what materials we're looking for, and to schedule a scanning session, check out the Digitize Greenville page on our website under the Learning and Research tab. If you have any questions, please email us at scroominfo@greenvillelibrary.org. Thank you again for joining me today, and I wish you the very best of luck with your research.